You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Most bodacious dudes and dudettes of the internet. It is I, Nathan. Just coming to you with this panel that was recorded at a con a few years back. Obviously, it's for Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. This was before Bill and Ted 3 was released. I think it might have been before Bill and Ted 3 was even announced. I mean, if you want to get technical, Bill and Ted 3 has been announced for like 20 years, but no one thought that anything was actually going to happen with it. And I don't believe we knew at this time, this is 2019, that they were actually going to move forward with a third movie, but maybe we did at that point. I'm cheating. I haven't listened to the whole audio yet for the panel. But anyway, I'm presenting to you a con panel. Wanted to fill a movie slot. This is one of the con panels I recorded a while back. It's a really good discussion about Bill and Ted. It was fun to hang out with a bunch of other people who all appreciated the movie. And so yeah, I hope that you enjoy listening to it. And without further ado, here is the panel already in progress.
So how do we describe this show? Like, what's really going to grab people's attention and make them tune in?
Nerdgasm for your eargasm?
What?
The spice must flow to be in the know. Don't be a willow. Grab your pillow.
But that one doesn't even make sense.
All right, stop. Snag a seat and listen. The nerds are back with a brand new edition.
No.
Okay, then. The Blurred Nerds Podcast. Rants, raves, reviews, recaps, and other bits of random fandom.
Well, see, that's perfect. You should have just led with that one.
Resistance is futile. Listen to the Blurred Nerds Podcast, right? Meow.
Fine. Make it so.
He's going to be full of this kind of trivia in just a moment. My name is Gary Mitchell, along with Joe Crow. I am the co-director of the American Sci-Fi Classics track, which is where you are. Thank you all for coming. Having a good Dragoncon so far. All right. And my credentials are just that I run the track, so I get to be here.
My name is John Hudgens. I'm a documentary filmmaker and artist and filmmaker. I've done a bunch of work for Lucasfilm and various other companies around the country. I'm in production on a brand new documentary about comedy improv. We just showed the trailer for it for the first time a few minutes ago. It's called Chair. It's about, like I said, it's about comedy improv. But like I said, you guys mostly probably are aware of me because of my work on Star Wars projects, and I worked on Babylon 5. You know, so I do a couple of things.
My name is Felicity Kuznets. I'm affiliated with the Flopcast on the ESO Network, and I've appeared on some other ESO Network shows here and there, mostly talking about Doctor Who.
My name is Chris Cummins. I'm a writer for Denim Geek and producer and host of the comedy event Sci-Fi Explosion.
I'm Nathan Laws. I'm the host of the 42 Cast, which is your ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything. It's a show that talks about everything in comics, literature, TV, film, video games, whatever. We have a rotating cast, and so if you find that interesting, take a business card.
My name is Beth van Dusen. I'm a writer, reporter, and Hawkeye troll for needlessthingspodcast.com.
A great podcast. All right. So we are here to talk about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. We'll also probably cover Bogus Journey and
Station.
And people will probably ask. We'll probably throw out a few guesses on the upcoming Face the Music, but we're going to start with the original. We're going to play the arm game one more time. We have more people coming in. If you see an arm go up, there's a chair next to that person. Please get a chair so the fire marshal doesn't shut us down. And I did not get to see it in the theater, but I did see it on cable.
You poor sweet summer child.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, I was alive when it came out. I just didn't get a chance because I was broke and a teenager. But it's still, when I saw it, it just was like, this is everything I want. This is great. So what about you? Did you get a chance to see it in the theater?
Oh yeah, I saw it in the theater because I had seen, I think I had seen an article about it in Starlog because they were talking about this film that had sat on the shelf for like 9 months because it was like some kind of back and forth between Orion and whatever the distributor was, and I'd seen their article months before the film ever came out, and it was just like, oh, this thing's finally coming out. It was like there had been a lot of films like that, like The Brother from Another Planet. I mean, these things you'd read. Yeah, there was no internet back then, so you'd read about these things in magazines and hope you got to see them, especially the smaller budgeted things. And yeah, so Bill and Ted was one of those ones I went to immediately, when it finally came out, and fell in love with the damn thing.
Yes, I saw it in the theaters. It came out my senior year in high school, and I'm not sure how much I had heard about it ahead of time, but we went to see just about everything in those days. And my first thought is, hey, they ripped off the TARDIS.
Yep.
But
they actually did that because they were afraid of ripping off the DeLorean. Yeah. Because the original Time Machine was it was a Chevy something. I mean, in the original script. Yeah.
Yeah, but despite the kind of goofy ineptitude of the main characters, I really enjoyed it. It was my first exposure to George Carlin, I'm ashamed to admit, and it's always held a special place in my heart.
Oh, George is one of the draws for me. We'll get to that.
I first saw it on cable TV. Science fiction comedy is literally my favorite thing in life, so this movie was definitely, it resonated with me, and I've seen it way too many times. But can you see it too many times? No. And the answer is no. Yeah, I mean...
No. I didn't see the movie in the theater. I was 9 when it came out, and my parents. So I was lucky if I got to see.
He's the sweet summer child.
Yeah, I was lucky if I got to see one movie a year in the movie theater. So this wasn't it that year, unfortunately. But when it came out, I absolutely loved it. I love anything time travel. And speaking of the Doctor Who connection, we know that Bill and Ted eventually get captured and turned into Cybermen because the 80s Cybermen are so fond of saying excellent.
Oh.
So. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie.
Beth?
I also did not get to see it in the theater. At that time, it was very difficult to talk people's parents into taking giggling girls to go see a movie to look at Keanu Reeves be pretty. So, you also don't get a lot of information about movies from trailers. There was no place to go get further information to know if I would actually like it or if Keanu Reeves was just some beautiful idiot.
So am I the token old fart in the panel? I mean, I was in college when this came out.
Oh no, yeah, okay, yeah, you're the
Yeah,
old
well,
part.
I was my senior in high school, so I was close.
I'm the token old fart.
You're our Rufus.
Rufus!
All right, so let's tee off of that. I mean, first off, it's such a genius plot that, I mean, so many times we see, stick with me. It's a time travel story like, oh my God, we gotta save, we have to prevent someone from getting killed, or we've got to kill Hitler, or we've got to make sure your parents boink. And we gotta do a history report.
Yeah.
And pass high school.
Yep.
In a weird way, this actually sort of ties in with my new documentary. Not to plug myself, but I mean, Bill and Ted.
Well, somebody's got to plug you.
Yeah.
Get your minds out of the gutter.
But Ed Solomon and Solomon and Matheson, I think they were Groundlings or Second City, and Bill and Ted were characters that they did in their improv shows. I mean, this was just them riffing, and they loved the characters that these two surfer dudes that they would do every week in their improv shows. They just started developing stories about the guys, and it all sprung up. The character. That's why the characters are so defined, is because they'd already defined them, playing them in games every week on stage. Before, and they became Bill and Ted. They just loved being these guys.
Again, we do have a few seats left. Again, we're going to play the hand game, and if you see an arm raised, there's a seat next to that person. Take a chair if you can, please.
But yeah, I mean, the nice thing about it is like the stakes are so small on that level, but then the stakes are the entire future of the world rests on these two guys just passing their history test so they can make the music that will just save humanity. So it's such a wonderful story in that sense, because it's like even the small things and two people that you wouldn't expect to be so important can make a huge difference.
Well, and I grew up with a lot of sci-fi, and for a little while the causality thing was really bothering me. It's like, wait, if Joan of Arc and Genghis Khan and Mr. the Kid all know what's going to happen and what to do, isn't okay? Never mind.
See, that's the thing. I don't think that they ever.
Vision for Joan.
I don't think they ever got a chance to read any books while they were there. They just like thought the mall was like the most amazing thing ever.
But Genghis Khan's got a new workout program. Joan of Arc's got a new workout program. This could change everything.
But it's time circular. They always knew this stuff, so this is always the way it's been.
Well, see, my daughter brought that.
the endgame version.
I actually watched this with my daughter this time, and she absolutely loved it, which made me happy. But she was talking about Beethoven and playing the synthesizer, and she's like, well, why wouldn't he go back and invent that? Because I'm like, there weren't transistors. So even if he knew that it was possible that this could be made, you know, he didn't. There weren't the tools available to do it.
Fair enough.
Chris?
How did the Ziggy Pig change the timeline?
Well, that's why Napoleon lost at Waterloo.
I've wondered that for 30 years. So, yeah.
Well, not to have cheat sheets, but I did just pull up little things. But, you know, funny thing, you talk about the Battle of Waterloo. The trivia page on IMDb says when Napoleon's doing his water slide presentation, he's actually diagramming the French invasion of Russia, which is his most disastrous of defeats. So,
Layers.
I don't think it's whoever the production people were on this, they actually thought about some of this stuff.
Wow, there was actually thought in this. I don't think that.
But I just love that because it's such a simple premise, and it gives us an excuse to run around and grab all these odd characters, and then I love the affection it gives all the historical figures. None of them are really mocked. I mean, a little bit, but everybody's.
Yeah.
But then it just the way it develops them. You know, we're all just dust in the wind.
Like the sands of the hourglass.
So were the days of our
lives. So it's one of those movies, though, that you can go back and watch and rewatch. And it's not that you're picking up anything new. It's just a fun thing to revisit. But I love in the plot, I think the thing I admire most, though, is the San Dimas time. Because that's always a time travel question for me. Being a Doctor Who fan, Back to the Future, as the whole, well, does the Doctor actually age? Do you age as you go through time? And then no, we laid it out. It's San Dimas time. And an hour is an hour is an hour. Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
Well, my daughter instantly came up with the problem with that is then you can always still go back to yesterday and then you can still live that over again. So it's still kind of but you know, they tried to make it work.
It's one of those don't think too hard.
Yeah.
Time travel works if the plot needs it to.
Right.
It works, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, people talk about the speed of fictional spaceships. They move at the speed of plot. You know, I mean, you need to be there by this point. Okay, the plot makes it so. You know?
It got a little goofy with the, you know, don't forget to set up the trash can over
there. Yeah, that's a little.
But the whole thing about that, I mean, that's a writing. It's a brilliant writing cheat, but it's like, you know, they put a button on it. They hang a lantern on it, saying, okay, we acknowledge this problem. And we're going to blow right past it.
Yeah, because we just want to get to the history report anyway, which, you know, if I was in that high school, I would have just been like, this is the most amazing thing I ever saw.
I really hope no one had a presentation after there. Oh, that's right.
That's it, yeah.
Could you imagine trying to follow that?
San Diego football high school.
I mean, when Abe Lincoln tells you, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes. I mean, you can't follow that up.
You just have to take the F at that point. I think one of the things that I find most interesting about this movie and it becoming a success is, like, this is a movie that, from a Hollywood point of view, especially like Orion, it's a dumb teen comedy that they felt had no potential whatsoever. It, like was mentioned, it sat on the shelf for ages. And then it comes out, and not only is it a success, it becomes this enduring pop culture phenomenon that spawns, you know, the sequels, and there was a live action TV show that we just found out went for 7 episodes. I didn't realize it went past the pilot. And
the third episode is actually the best one.
Yeah, and like I just think it's really interesting because no one really expected too much from this movie. And I think the fact that there weren't high expectations let a lot of really clever stuff get through in terms of the casting, the characterizations, that spawned from what you were saying about their improv. And this movie has no right to be as entertaining as it is. Look, it's not Hamburger the Motion Picture. It's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But from a Hollywood point of view, this was a movie that almost just was direct-to-video.
Well, yeah, and on that, but the weird thing on that is one thing most people probably never notice about it. You talk about being straight to video. Most things like this back then were shot. They were shot flat. They were shot, in a the standard 1:8:5 aspect ratio, and usually shot open matte, so they could be easily done for television. Bill and Ted's scope. I mean, it's a 2:35:1 wide screen scope. They didn't do that for the second one, but it's like.
They made the Circle K look good.
Yeah, but low budget movies like this never shot in scope back then. So it's like somebody in the production was like had a little bit of faith in it.
Yeah.
The human race loves the dumbest things the most.
So that explains Home Alone.
That's another panel.
Hot take.
I mean, there's just so many fun, weird things they throw in there, though. Like the whole thing about Missy, and it's like, that's your mom, dude!
Yeah, I was going to bring up
She was a
Missy.
senior freshman.
I was going to bring up Missy as one of the few things that I think doesn't age that
Yeah.
well. The other one is that when Bill finds out Ted isn't dead, they hug and then use a gay slur.
Yeah. But of movies from that era, here's the thing: is especially comedies. A lot of movies don't age well. Comedies almost never age well.
It's the most perishable genre.
Yeah, and stuff was funny at the time, or if it's a reference to something else. Bill and Ted is one of the ones that does age well because a lot of it is not based on pop culture references, and it doesn't have a lot of bits like that.
Nothing else really problematic.
Like, try to watch Airplane. I love Airplane. Oh my god.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh god. Yeah. I didn't like Revenge of the Nerds at the time, but I'm a weirdo. But yeah, it's for me, that's one of the things that makes the movie precious. Is it's one of those that is kind of a bit of a cultural touchstone that has weathered the test of time quite well, pardon the expression. So my favorite character, thinking about it, it's hard because they're all really good characters. But if I had to pick one, it's got to be Rufus.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just George Carlin is having a ball, and he's cool. Any thoughts on Rufus from anybody?
Well, I remember reading somewhere that it was an accident that they got him. I mean, they had been looking to cast people like Sean Connery, and it was just like one of these offhand suggestions of somebody that mentioned George Carlin. Everybody's like, huh? Well, because George Carlin was not an actor. I mean, really. I mean, he was a stand-up. I mean, almost always has been. And as far as I remember, this is like one of his first acting.
One of his very first, yeah.
I think it's interesting that he's this great comedian who's also a countercultural icon.
Yeah.
And here he is in this movie, and he delivers this performance that is not only super funny, it's packed with genuine heart. Yeah. And like I really love that about Rufus. Like Rufus is the guy you want to know. Like you want this guy to be like Bill and Ted. If you had them in your life, it would be a bit problematic. But like they'd be a bit of a handful, but with Rufus, it's like, Rufus gives you the feeling that everything's going to be fine. And they need that guiding presence when they're basically have the weight of the future on their shoulders.
I'm never going to get out of my head now the idea of Rufus delivering lines like, "My daughters are fans of the band," But, Carlin, I mean, I love that it's so understated, that he's so deadpan about so many of the things. But then you're right, there's like the few moments where he's just like, remember to dial one number ahead. He's like, guys, come on.
Rufus already knows how this all plays out because it's happened. He's just sort of, filling in the blanks, making sure that ticking the box.
He makes the best guitar faces at the end. They're so bad, but they're so good.
That was one of the things that amused me most when I recently rewatched it. I'm like, oh, like at the time I wouldn't have noticed they're cutting from his face to someone else's hands, but it couldn't
so
be more
good.
obvious.
It's so obvious now.
Who's your favorite?
I'm actually going to have to go from the second film because I prefer that one. I mean, I like them both, but I mean, William Sadler just kills his death. I mean, and I'm so glad they got him back for number 3.
Yeah.
William Sadler is a treasure.
Oh yeah, and his brother Daryl and his other brother Daryl. No, I mean, I like Bill Sadler in anything. I mean, a movie can suck, but Bill Sadler will still give you something good. I mean, granted, Bill and Ted Go to Hell doesn't suck. And you can tell he's having a ball.
They gave me a Melvin.
I like Socrates a lot. I think he's very lovable. He's out of his depth, but he's having a fun time. I mean, like he and Billy, Mr. the Kid, bond right away, and they also bond in making fun of Sigmund Freud, and he seems to be like along for the ride and ready to do whatever is needed of him.
Oh, when they want to pick up chicks in the mall, that's like one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
For me, it's definitely Rufus, but I have to say honorable mention to Jane Whelan for I mean, Joan of Arc in the mall is just it is an absolute delight watching her performance.
Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to pick one, but I'm just going to riff off of what Felicity was saying and talk about Billy the Kid, because I love the fact that he slides into the whole thing so easily, and he's like, "Come on, Socrates," and he's just like, "Hey, yeah, I'm with Bill and Ted, and this is the way things are," and it's just totally effortless.
Yeah, and they stage the rescue together.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
My favorite character is also Death, and it's almost entirely because of don't overlook my butt. I work out all the time, and reaping burns a lot of calories.
I don't know why. There's always just one thing about right before they melt it. Your shoes untied. Oh, it's like, dude, you're barefoot. It's just you can see him going. Oh, yeah.
And I just love the game sequence. 7 out of 10, down straight!
Yes, Death does not lose. Or does not lose well.
Yes. But again, it's little moments like that. I mean, as a cohesive whole, both movies have such great little moments that sometimes it doesn't all hang together very well, but they hang together well enough that you just keep watching and you go back to it. Mm-hmm. So Beth, what's your favorite sequence? Either movie.
God, that's so hard.
I know, but you got to pick your baby.
I think it would probably have to be the rescue sequence. Mm-hmm. I know it gets a little over the top with the running through the police station, but it's like getting the band back together. We've got to go rally and save everything, and it makes the end of the movie happen.
Right. Nathan?
I think my favorite is the report. I don't know if that's cheating to pick that one, but that is so ostentatious. It is so over the top, and it is so well written that even though it's this stupid movie about these two losers in high school, they really came up with some clever ways of using the historical characters and the things that, Freud's analyzing Bill.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's analyzing Ted, and then Bill's just like, I just got a minor Oedipal complex. You don't need to do me.
And then that snap back to basics. Actually learned about the stuff.
Right. Yeah, because it's you would go through this whole movie thinking Bill would have no idea what that even meant, and then to have him just so easily be like, yeah, I know myself,
Well, of the two, Bill is the intellectual.
Yeah. But yeah, everything from that to Napoleon, because he's been to the water park called Waterloo, wanting to do the Battle of Waterloo to establish a water park, and just all that is so cleverly done. I love it.
I actually have to echo what he said. That's also my favorite moment from that. And here's the thing, like for my work, I have to do like presentations many times a week, and I will never ever do a presentation that even approaches that. And I think this is the secret fear that anyone who does public speaking for a living has. And also, it was really interesting to me because, a kind of a personal anecdote, my brother was super dumb when he was in high school, and he watched this movie, and this movie, like, the report inspired him to become a better student, and he became a teacher because of which is so ridiculous to me, but like he turned his life around because of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Okay, so random, but he was super dumb, and then he got smart in his senior year of high school because of watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's like, I need to really focus on my studies now. So, good job, Bill and Ted.
I love the whole mall sequence, and then just, you know, how quickly it goes downhill. You know, they're all at this very enthusiastic point. You're like, oh wow, they're really getting it. You know, Beethoven's really enjoying himself. Everyone's really enjoying himself. And then I think it's when someone tries to take Lincoln's costume back.
Yes.
And then you see like everything goes
Oh
downhill.
no, they want
there.
the fake beard. Like, oh, give me the fake beard and that. I had my beard.
just the descent into oh no, everything's gone wrong.
You're talking first film or second film?
Either film.
Well, in a way, it's actually both films. I love anything where they're basically hanging a lantern on the ridiculousness of time travel. You know, it's like, you know, Denomalos is like, well, you forgot that I went back and didn't know, but we, you know, and it's like they're just hanging a lantern on the, you know, well, to get out of this, we got to remember to do this, and it's just, you know, it's just talking about how ludicrous time travel can be sometimes. You know, it's like the kind of stuff that Stephen Moffat, I think, even mentioned one time. He sort of took what they did with Bill and Ted, because when he did The Curse of Fatal Death, you know, all the stuff they're doing playing on Doctor Who and time travel tropes and stuff like that. It's just the thought that went into these things about making it ludicrous, but making it logical ludicrous. You know?
Yeah. Oh, that's why I love that sequence of, you know, breaking in. It's like, okay, you got to remember to go back and put the keys here.
And here they are.
Whoa, I did steal my dad's keys.
That and when they run into each other.
Yeah. Dude, but see, that's a good use of that time travel trope, though, because they set up the keys through the beginning of the movie, the whole thing. Where are my keys? What have you done? I didn't do anything with your keys. You know, and then it's like, oh, I really did steal his keys. That's beautiful.
Well, you know, it's the whole Chekhov's gun thing. I mean, if there's a reference, if there's something referenced in the script like that, a good writer, it's there for a reason. You know.
All right, so of the two movies, if you had to pick one, we know your answer. You like the second. So we'll go down.
I didn't get a chance to rewatch the second before this panel, but I think I'd have to go with the second as well. I think it's just, you know, you can't call either one of these films high concept, really. But, like, I just remember being so tickled by the whole game sequence with Death, you know, knowing about where, you know, what the reference was to the Bergman film, and with Max von Sydow, by the way, and just loving that, loving how it escalates. You know, like you said, that's 7 out of 10. Damn right, and they wind up with Death's sticky foot in their face playing Twister.
Well, I'm actually going to not really revise my answer, but I'm going to modify it. Right now, I don't know which one is my favorite.
Oh,
we still have. Well, we have
not seen 3.
We have not seen 3.
Well, I said of the 2.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Never mind.
Yes, thank you, Emily.
This is a super, like, Sophie's Choice moment here, because the second one, it really is just like, okay, this movie was an unexpected hit, made a lot of money, let's make it as crazy as we possibly can and throw stuff in there and just make it more inventive. And so I think in terms of ambitiousness, the second one wins, but I still think the first one is my favorite, just in terms of, you know, making... It's a lame excuse, but because it's the one that made me fall in love with the characters in the first place. I think the second one is a better film, but the first one is my favorite.
The first one is transformative. You were just telling us.
Yes.
For me, it's the first one. I really love the time travel aspect and the gathering of the different historical figures and all of that, and how they all interplay off each other. So it's like, yeah, the second movie goes into some weird places, and they definitely take a lot more, you know, liberties and try to push the envelope. But my love's always going to be that first one, unless Face the Music proves me wrong, which I'm happy with.
Well, look at it real quick. Look at it this way. At least they didn't do the same thing in the second one.
Right? No, and I get that. I get that. I
you know?
do get that, and that is appreciated.
We have to do a math report.
Right. It's our college history report now.
When the second one initially came out, I did not love it. I'm not gonna lie. I thought the station was a kind of silly thing, and it didn't look great. So I liked the first one better completely when it first came out. It has grown on me a lot over the years, so I've warmed up to the second one, obviously much more. But the first one is still always going to be my favorite.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a Star Wars and Empire question, you know?
Yeah.
That's a whole other track.
Yeah.
At this time, no. So, since we've already touched a little bit on the third one, what are you hoping to see in the third one? I mean, we know the basic gist is things didn't go as planned, and now it's their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Beth, what are you hoping that or do you just want them to surprise you?
I actually had one note made for what I want for the third one. I want Missy to be married to death. She's going to be married to somebody different in this one, so might as well give Death a lady.
No, what, do we know that did they get Missy back?
She's listed in the cast.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did. And they just wrapped filming. What was it? Yesterday?
It was a week or so ago.
Yeah.
I'm just happy we're getting it. Yeah. There were so many years where we were being told this is coming, and I was like, okay, clickbait, article, whatever.
Yeah, I believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I believe it when I see it.
It's almost happened so many times. Too,
right.
You know.
And that's the thing. I mean, I think it's Keanu Reeves is going through another renaissance in his career, and I think that now that this is his passion project, and so he's able to get things through on just his name.
What, you gonna tell Mr. Wick he can't have his movie?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Any actor basically just makes things happen.
But I'm happy that they have George Carlin's daughter involved, because I think
Yes.
that'll make a nice touchstone to things. And honestly, I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts about the movie. I have some ideas of where they might go with it, but as long as there's some fun time travel shenanigans. And they don't mire it in grim dark, we didn't save the world. Everything sucks. I don't think they're going to go there.
That's the biggest thing I don't want.
Right.
Let's not go dark. For
right.
God's sake.
But yeah, all that I want is the time travel shenanigans.
The only thing I really don't want from this movie is I really hated the way they depicted Marty McFly in Back to the Future 2 as really broadly buffoonish, unhip old guy. I hate that. It's just so lame and easy to do that. And I'd like to see them be obviously kind of like burnouts or failures, but do it in a realistic way that draw the funny. Yeah, like the funny of when you see an aging hippie who hasn't let it go, and it's kind of sad but funny at the same time. That's how I wanted to be, instead of broad, look at how wacky my terrible clothes are, that kind of thing.
Well, that was part of the shtick of Back to the Future, anyway.
Yeah.
And plus, that was the darkest timeline, Marty. That wasn't.
Yes, that's
Marty,
true. That's true.
Yeah, I haven't given it a lot of thought because, as Nathan said, it was there was a lot of time when it just seemed like clickbait. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't really given myself a chance to think about it and really look forward to it, although I definitely am. So I just want it to surprise me.
I'm just looking for witty dialogue, fun situations, and for it to not suck. I mean, comedies are hard. There have been so many times where they've gone back to the well for things, the comedies that they shouldn't have. And I just want this one to live up to the first two.
Yeah.
And if it can, be better.
Be excellent.
Yeah, I'm going to crib a line from Peter David when someone asked him what he was expecting out of, I think it was Enterprise. He's like, geeks are easy to please. All that we ask is that it doesn't suck. And that's pretty much where I'm at for it. I want the movie to just don't suck. Don't. It'll never. People love to say this movie ruined my, it ruined my childhood or it ruined this. No, it's still there. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure will still be there even if this movie is bad, and I can still enjoy it.
Problem with a lot of those people is, they grew up, but the films didn't. You know,
Yeah.
the films were pitched for somebody. You know, they were the perfect age that movies were made for when those movies were made. They are no longer that age. Things affect them differently, and so the people who are the age that they were when those first came out love the new stuff. You know, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, something I want to, on that note, something unrelated, but that I want to point out really did an amazing job of translating something that was made at the time for people of a certain age and kind of aged along with the audience is Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Yes.
Series based
Yes.
on Karate Kid. That's amazingly good.
That has no right to be as good as it is, and I think like
Exactly.
I think what it is like the creative team on that show, which were the Harold and Kumar guys, really grew up with affinity for that project, and that's why it turned out so well. By having like Solomon returning to this, he knows to Bill and Ted. He knows like this world. He's been living with this world throughout all the false starts of trying to get this project off the ground. So because of that extra time, I really don't have any doubt that it's going. I think it's absolutely not going to pull a Anchorman 2 on us. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be very much like in the spirit and very entertaining. But as much as the second one was different from the first one, this is going to be unlike anything we've seen before. That excites me.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one thing that you don't have a lot of time with these. You know, this is not really a reboot, but you have the original creators doing this. This is not some people saying, "Oh, this is how I think they would have done it." No, this is how the guys who created the characters want to do it. So that's what I want to see. I don't want to. I don't want to. You know, I don't want to see the Will Ferrell, Adam McKay version of Bill and Ted. I want to see. I want to see Solomon Matheson.
Right.
That just hurt me.
Yeah, as long as it's not a lost, Land of the Lost or Chips situation. Yeah. You're welcome. So, trying to think of another question. I expected us to talk longer about how cool Rufus was. Anybody in the audience have any questions? Throw a hand. We'll start with this handsome man here. It looks like he might be a musician.
So like, there were a bunch of like 80s movies, like when I was a kid and stuff, and you know, I watched a cartoon first, right? Yeah, you know, and I got hooked on the cartoon, and like I would go to like the 7-Eleven where they serve K, dude, and I get a slushy, and I want to be like that. Like the cartoons, like really got me, you know.
Wild things were afoot.
Yeah. My favorite part of this is how embarrassed their friend is.
So like I was wondering if like any of you dudes out there like watched the cartoon first and they later on saw the movie. Like, oh my god, this is
Oh, you want to talk about this, like,
Okay.
the real Ghostbusters syndrome?
There was a
He actually
cartoon.
raises a good question. Did anybody? I don't think anybody up here saw the cartoon first. But what do you?
I haven't seen the cartoon at all, actually.
Yeah, I've never seen the cartoon. I've seen the live action Fox show though.
Yeah, I knew it existed. I just never saw it.
I saw the cartoon first.
You saw the cartoon first?
Yeah.
What'd you think? Did it hook you to watch the movie?
It actually did. I wanted to
Did-
see where it started from.
Okay.
It's fun. It's fun. There's actually a real syndrome. There are kids growing up who think that the real Ghostbusters are the real Ghostbusters, because there's an episode that Joe Straczynski wrote where they see the making of Ghostbusters the movie, and they think that's the way it happened. That Ghostbusters the movie is the adaptation of the real Ghostbusters. You know, they don't realize the time frame here because they grew up watching the show every week and they'd see that episode. They weren't allowed to watch the movie. You know.
Yeah, I saw the real Ghostbusters first.
Yeah.
You, right there.
So obviously there are some great Bill and Ted cosplayers in this room. In your up to 30 years as a Bill and Ted fan, what is the best Bill and Ted related cosplay that you have seen?
Well, there was.
I've seen Robot Bill and Ted, and that was amazing.
About 10 years ago, I saw a group that literally, it was Robot Bill and Ted, it was Station, both big and little,
Nice.
a Death, a Rufus, and I forget who else, but I mean, there was just this group of like 10 people doing every character, and it was just like, god damn.
That's dedication.
There was an amazing station at New York Comic Con last year that was just studio quality.
I do remember seeing the Good Robot Us's at some point, and they were pretty awesome.
I think you're next, and then over there, and then back there. So you first.
All right, so between the two films, which do you think had the better soundtrack?
Ooh. Number one.
Second one?
Second. No, I go with the first just because, I mean, it's a little thing that probably none of you probably, I don't want to say picked up on, but it's, or care, but it's just, as an editor, I love the intro to the first Bill and Ted because it's just something about that pumping, you know, and it's just the way everything is timed and edited. It's just this little film editor neepery thing that I have that I'm just like, yeah.
I hadn't really thought about it until just now, but I really do like the Kiss cover of God Gave Rock and Roll.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan. I don't know who sings it, but the song "In Time," that's from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. That song is fantastic.
The reason you don't know who it is because they're all no-name artists. They were all like local California bands for Excellent Adventure, with the exception of Extreme.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but so they were all bands that nobody heard about because low budget. They didn't have a lot of money to put the soundtrack together. So they were like, "Hey, we've got all these great hair metal bands in LA."
But that's like a great like 80s power pop anthem song. That's like, I can do it. You know, it's one of those pop songs like right up there with The Touch.
Yeah. And Beth, you said the second one, I believe?
The second one mostly because of not only featuring Jim Martin, but using a Faith No More song as well. So that's why it gets top for me.
Nathan, you answered right.
First movie for me.
Yeah, same. All right. So
no, although I will say that I collect movie soundtracks, and the score, the actual soundtrack score for the second one, is a better score than the first one.
They had more money.
That's true.
Yes, sir. In the hat.
So, Orlando area resident. Universal does Halloween Horror Nights every year, and they used to do a Bill and Ted show as a live show every year. Until about 2 years ago, they decided to put it on hiatus and did a farewell tour. Do you think with the new movie come out, they may bring back the live show?
They'd be fools not.
That amphitheater's gone now, though.
It
sacrificed itself to the wizarding world.
Not yet.
We have some seats up front.
Still there. It's
still is it? The Fear Factory theater's still there? Okay.
Oh, it's still there. Yay, it's still there.
Could I just? Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, but we're a year out from the film. I mean, that's probably a conversation somebody needs to have. But they would be fools not to do that.
I think they should do a Bill and Ted House.
Bill and Ted House would be great.
That'd be interesting.
Especially because, here's a little. There's a friend of mine, Ryan Cadaver, who likes to go every year. Beth knows this guy. He was talking about, I think it was not either last year or the year before, they did a Halloween one for the new movie coming out. And they had a different Michael Myers, but they looked like it was the same Michael Myers who was always popping up, so it was like he was chasing you. They could do, Bill and Ted, here's Bill and Ted, here's Bill, here's Ted, here's Bill, here's Bill, here's Bill. They could definitely do something like that.
Different time versions.
The Street Fighter in the back.
Yes. What historical figures do you want to see represented in the third that weren't in the previous two movies?
Well, a lot of that depends on the story of the third. We don't know what they're going to do for it. I mean, that might not be I mean, I don't know.
If they travel back to the 80s to fix it, that they didn't become big, they could grab 80s personalities.
Weird Al.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Weird Al.
Yeah. It ties in with the music theme. I mean, oh no, the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota is the song. No. Sorry.
Yeah. I can't. No one comes to mind.
Right now we're too much in vague land.
Yeah.
I mean, because literally, all that. I don't want them to go to that well again. It's like Death Star 2. I mean, do something new. Have time travel shenanigans, but you don't have to have historical figures to do that.
But you could also use historical figures and not do the same thing they did in the first. I mean, there might be something they do with it. Yeah, it's different.
Yes, ma'am.
So, not historical figures, but like Father Time and stuff like that. What do you think?
Expanding on going with death. Yeah, that's a good idea. If anyone didn't hear Father Time, Or maybe some other personal personifications of things. That would be interesting.
I would think that Father Time's probably a little mad at them for screwing with his.
Stop kicking over my plants.
Stop messing up my plans.
Yeah. Time is a garden.
I had this world scripted out. Who told you to improvise?
The guy with the chair. Yes.
You know, usually one generation sort of rebels against the previous one. So, what do you think would happen if Bill and Ted's daughters, if they're the main characters of the story, are completely straight-laced and no-nonsense people, and Bill and Ted have to make them, you know, surf or do rock at late?
If they're straight up preppies, that would be weird.
I would love it.
That could very well be the plot.
Yeah,
I
think that would be funny to see.
Wait, they have daughters? I thought they had little Bill and little Ted.
Yeah, that always confused me. This is an alternate timeline. Or they could have had more kids?
Yep.
That will be explained in Bill and Ted 4.
Does anyone know what's going on with the princesses? Because they changed the actresses between the two movies.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's like.
That was very obvious to me.
Right. Well, though they even had a comment in the second movie, it was like they don't even look the same anymore, or something like that.
Yeah, the movie does need to be just as self-aware as the first two.
Yeah.
Yes.
So sticking to that whole time travel kind of theme, do you prefer the more, I don't know what to necessarily call it, I would maybe call it a little campy version of being able to affect time travel and time that Bill and Ted has, or the more like serious implications of Back to the Future? Would you prefer to see something more like that?
Okay, that's actually a good question. We'll kind of spin it a little differently, but anyone who couldn't hear me was asking, do we prefer like the campy, crazy, kind of loose time travel, or these are the rules and we're going to sit here and diagram with straws for 20 minutes? And for me, it depends on the story. For Bill and Ted, I do not want we put too much thought into this. I want it to be fun and wrong. And it just, well, why? Because time travel. Why? Because Doctor Who.
I want it packed with as much nonsense as possible.
Yeah, that and get one with the multiverse thing.
Yeah.
Branching timeline concept.
But how about you?
Yeah, it definitely is going to depend on the plot for me. Like, you know, a more serious movie, you want it to be more rigid about time travel, and but here I want it to be as goofy as possible.
So, what are your thoughts in regard to how they ended the second one with, all of the like clips of what they were, like their future of what they were doing? Because they make that out as if this is like this big epic experience that everybody has now experienced, and then suddenly it's beyond that. We lost our 10 minutes of fame. Like, they obviously had, or 15 minutes of fame, they obviously would have had an extensive, more than just going viral, kind of interaction in order to have all of those things at the end of the second one. I question if they're going to completely disregard that ending, or how that's going to play in, because if they're slackers in the third, you just kind of have to wonder how they would go from it being a massive, huge cultural phenomenon that they're involved with to suddenly slackers.
I think we're just going to have to trust them to, right now, trust them to do the right thing, or trust them. If they come up with a great story that works around that, I'm good with that. I just want them to tell a good story, But we don't know.
Yeah, I would find it believable still that like maybe it worked for a while, and Rufus came back in time from a time where everything looked perfect, but then things happen and things don't always work out in the long term.
Or maybe this is an alternate time. this is someone has changed time. And they have to somehow, time has to be fixed. Who knows? But another De Nomolos or somebody could have gone back and tried to change things again, or who knows? I'm willing to wait and see.
Come back, Tori.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to when we finally get our first trailer and get an idea of what's happening.
Yeah.
You had your hand up, and then we'll do you.
I'm just curious. Obviously, times have changed since the '80s, and phone booths aren't a thing anymore. Do you think they'll use that as the time machine, or they'll?
I hope so.
They've already posted photographs of the time machine, so it's in there.
Yeah, now it's a cell phone.
Yeah, I find it hilarious if the kids go, but Dad, there's an app.
Oh, please God, let it be a time travel app.
Yeah, I imagine they just kind of kept it in their garage or something. And,
Right.
And yeah, maybe the kids are like, what the hell is that?
I fully expect there'll be a joke about it.
Oh yeah.
No, but it's not true because I saw a phone booth just like a year ago. They're still around.
Oh, yeah.
Still
They're like Sasquatch.
Right, exactly.
What the hell's a phone booth?
Right. What's a VHS tape?
So somebody over here, I forget who it is. Yes.
So you mentioned that George Carlin's daughter was involved in
Yes.
the production of the third installment.
Yes.
That's actually the first I've heard of this. So is she actually
She's
an
in
actress
it.
in the movie?
As far as I know, she's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she is going to take the Rufus role in the movie, like maybe even playing Rufus's daughter. I don't know exactly what her character is going to be, but yeah, that's my understanding.
I really just hope this movie has like a nice tribute to Carlin, and,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it will.
Well, yeah, if they got his daughter to come
Yeah.
in the movie, I'm pretty sure they're going to do something with that.
All right, so we're winding down on San Dimas time. Beth, is there anything that you wanted to say about the movie you haven't had a chance to say yet that you were like, I came here to make sure we talk about this?
You know, I think I've covered it fairly well. My feelings about the movies have changed a lot over the years because when I was a pubescent girl, many different reasons for going to see a Keanu Reeves movie than now, although... or maybe not. The appreciation of the movies is different, though. So I appreciated the comedy at the time, but I appreciate it much, much more now. And I actually just rewatched both movies 2 weeks ago to get ready for this, and they're still hysterical. They still stand up, and I think that the third one's going to be fantastic. And if it's not, somebody's going to pay.
Right in the streets.
I don't know the name of the actor who played Napoleon, but that man really deserves like a little, shout out because the way that he played him as such this vain, pompous guy. He's moving people out of the line at the water park just so that he can get on there. It's just, I don't know. I just really appreciate what they did with all the historical figures. We haven't mentioned Napoleon yet, and I wanted to do that. And of course, the fact that the water park is named Waterloos, that tickled me back then, and it still tickles me because it's such a funny joke.
I just, more than anything else in the world right now, I want everyone to leave this panel just chanting Ziggy, just right through the Marriott until you go to wherever you are. 100 plus people in unison doing that as you exit.
Yeah. Like Nathan, I wanted to shout out Napoleon because I love how he goes from terrified to go down the water slide.
Right.
To, this is the best thing ever.
And who wouldn't have that? Yeah, you bring somebody forward from history, you bring it to a water park. It's like, this is amazing.
And also, I think it's Ted's younger brother who's just like, let's ditch him. Napoleon's a dick.
I wish I could pop this up on screen, but there's a picture of Solomon and Matheson and Keanu Reeves and Winter in the phone booth. Yeah, he posted this on Twitter. To coin a phrase, I just want the movie to be excellent. To us.
As we should all be excellent to each other.
A nice segue.
Thank you for setting it up for me.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody, I hope you had a great, excellent time at the panel here.
You have been listening to the 42 Cast, copyright 2021. Got a question for the ultimate answer? Contact us at everything@42cast.com. Theme music is Sharper Swords by Brandon Ellis. Check out more of his work at www.cityfires.com. The 42 Cast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.